What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
It did just fine against magic from high-level elementals, which was specialist stuff, but hey, if it crumbled, we'd just build it again. As long as we made sure no onlookers got hurt, us duking it out there shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, you're in that much of a hurry to embarrass yourself in public?
What do you think, Masayuki?
You should accept the offer. It'll help spread your name far and wide. Yes, let's prove you're on the side of justice, in front of the very people you must keep safe.
Yeah.
Masayuki's attendants were all gung-ho about it. Masayuki was not. His eyes darted around, seeking an escape. Was this dude really alright? This wasn't, like, just a huge bluff or something, was it? Nah, it couldn't be. This gang apparently crushed Orthrus, which Soe described to me as one seriously dangerous organization. That's not the kind of feat you could bluff your way through. Even if he was a big faker. I mean, hell, he could say no anytime.
Well, alright, I accept your invitation.
Guess I really was overthinking it. After a few moments spent in thought, he said yes.
Whoa, you sure about that, Masayuki?
A worried Yuki asked. The hero smiled slightly.
Oh, I'll figure something out. It ought to be just fine. It always is.
That's a lot of confidence. Especially considering I'm right in front of him.
Very good.
I replied.
And this being a tournament, there's not gonna be any killing, alright? Keep that in mind for me.
Who do you think you're talking to? Let's go, Masayuki. We'd better rest up for the big day tomorrow.
Yes, Masayuki. Considering all the onlookers here, no way this demon lord's going to chicken out now.
And don't worry, we'll keep a close eye out for anyone trying to poison or assassinate you.
Anyway, we ought to get going. Better find out when the tournament begins.
Rimuru,
Yuki said as they left.
you aren't really going to fight Masayuki, are you?
I don't know yet. I mean, do you think he could win the tournament?
That's what I'd like to know.
Yuki sighed.
He's won a couple Anglacia battle tournaments in a row, and honestly, I've never heard of him losing against a monster before. A lot of his strength is still an unknown to me.
I could read it on his face. This was something he did not want to deal with.
Well, whatever happens happens. But let's give this a positive spin, huh? Having a bona fide hero in my tournament's a mark of prestige.
It's all about perspective. Yes, this was a thorn in my side, but compared to conferring with demon lords or fighting Hinata, it didn't strike me as that depressing. We'd need to think of some measures later, but I saw no reason to dwell on it any further. And then evening came, and with it, an ornate reception hall packed with dignitaries from all over. We had tons of nobility in there, all dressed to the nines in their flashiest formal gear. There were more men than women, by the looks of it, but I guess I had earned the trust of quite a few nobles, because I saw some with their spouses and children. There was even a young doll-like girl with blonde hair among them, making for quite a spread of ages. Tonight's plan called for a pretty loose invitee list. Anyone could come if they liked, and we'd be serving them buffet style, with a variety of food spread out on the table and invitees free to pick and choose. Plus, there was something you wouldn't see in any other country, a section of the chamber-decorated Japanese style, with tatami mats on the floor. This took up about half the room, with invitees obliged to remove their shoes before stepping on it. This wasn't a tradition many guests were used to, so the tatami section was still sparsely populated. But it wasn't empty. I saw a few people trying the space out, relaxing on new and unfamiliar zabuton floor pillows. King Gazel was one of them, and this wasn't his first time, so he was well used to it. We spoke for a bit. Apparently, he'd gone around town this afternoon, seeing how it was developing, the sewage treatment facilities, the rails we were constructing, and so on. He spent a while gazing at all the buildings and entertainment we had built, much of it based on my own whims.
What will you be doing with those rails, if I may ask?
Well, on that topic, I actually had some things to discuss with you. I'm thinking about developing these new vehicles called trains, and I'd really like you to join in.
Oh, well, if it's my beloved sparring partner asking, I'll gladly accept.
That was fast. I guess seeing those rails convinced him it was worth signing on for. If anything, I bet he would have insisted on joining, even if I told him he couldn't. No need for that, though.
Excuse me.
I heard someone say as he sat nearby. This was Yam, another familiar face, and he just wumped himself down right in front of King Gazel, who greeted him with a grin and deftly poured some wine into his cup. It was surreal to watch the king of a brand new nation chatting with someone like Gazel. no doubt the sight would make some people rethink their opinions of Yam. The three of us chatted about this and that a while. Gazel's main purpose here was to show people that we were friends. The more intelligent people watching us would have to raise their opinions of Yam and me. Here, they'd think, we're two people the Dwarven King obviously respected, and that, in turn, would give us more leverage at the bargaining table. In effect, Gazel was providing support fire for us. Of course, I was sure he'd scrutinized what we talked about before, making calculations to ensure the Dwarven Kingdom stood to profit from it. But I still definitely appreciated it. It reminded me all over again that in Gazel, I had a trusted confidant. Some of the attendees had a chance to try out our large public bathhouse before the party. It was generally warmly received, the bath attendant fielding all sorts of questions. Bathhouses already existed in the larger nations of the world. The novelty here was the hot spring water itself, I assumed. We kept careful tabs on the healing properties of the minerals and such it contained, so now it could be easily replicated. A number of nations asked if we could bring a bath like this to their homeland, and I planned to reply to this customer commentary at a later date. My answer was always going to be sorry, come visit us again, but regardless. A few of our bath customers were in the tatami space now, relaxing in the light yukata kimono we'd provided. They were quite muscular folks, discussing with one another what they had seen and experienced. One of them wanted to speak one-on-one with me, but I just didn't have the time to get to everybody in the chamber. I thus reached out and greeted those I was able to timing-wise as I made my way to the seat of honor. Many of the people here were seeing me for the first time. I felt a lot of curious gazes upon me, people who turned pale upon learning I was a demon lord and people all the more curious and observant upon hearing the news. I was still not used to so much attention at once, so I gave them all quick hellos before reaching my seat. It was time to officially get this party started.
First off, thank you for coming here today. My name is Rimuru, and as you all know, I have recently been appointed a demon lord. However, tonight isn't the night for intense political discussion. I hope that all of you here will enjoy the food of our nation that we'll present to you tonight. I was never one for long speeches, so let's begin.
Everything was set to go. Food is an integral part of good hospitality. Hopefully the sincerity behind it came across to everyone. Each table had a waiter attending to it. Vester had drilled them on how to divvy up the available food upon request. What he taught them, about how everything came down to providing the best possible experience for our guests, was about to be unleashed on the public. My speech over, I lifted my cup in a toast. The eve of the festivities was underway. The cold beer, for one thing, led to loud cheers and applause. I figured it would. If your alcohol consumption involved not much carbonation, Tempest's beer must have been a huge surprise. I mean, it's ice cold. I instructed everyone thoroughly on Japanese-style service here, chilling the glasses and everything. I couldn't compromise on that, for my own sake. Even better, I had lovely elven girls pouring for me. No one was forcing them to, okay? They'd personally volunteered to help out, and we were letting them. And they were a big hit, too. Having such beautiful elves going around the hall with drinks, wearing yukata, was no doubt quite attractive to people only familiar with women in dresses. And the way they greeted you, with a polite seated bow on the tatami mats, 3 fingers of each hand on the floor, had a kind of universal attraction among men, no matter where they came from. A lot of them were blushing, and not because of the booze. I mean, you know how breasts can look under a yukata. Just as I calculated, but, the ultimate blending of Japanese and Western styles. Seeing people in yukata dotted among all the nobles in formal wear was something different, definitely. Something you could see only here. Things were getting a little hectic at this party, though we'd expected as much. Really, the party itself was a crazy idea from a common-sense perspective, but why let it bother me? I treated it as perfectly normal as I watched the other guests. The tables were lined with the latest and greatest work from Shuna and Mr. Yoshida. It was all excellent. I could guarantee to everyone attending that they would enjoy it. You had smoked chidukan and vegetable sandwiches, cowdeer steaks, sautéed veggies with red bean paste, karage fried chicken, and roast beef salad. For palate cleansers, we offered assorted fruit sorbets, and there were even a few dishes from the Walpurgis I attended, like black tiger stew and grilled sage rooster. Tracking down those monsters wasn't easy, but with the leads I had beforehand, we managed to procure them over the course of 3 days. This food, made with the finest and rarest of ingredients our nation had to offer, seemed to fully satisfy the palates of our noble attendees, all of whom were dyed-in-the-wool gourmets, no doubt. And that wasn't all. A large fish was brought into a corner of the hall, on the border between the Western and Japanese sections. The monster was called a spear tuna, bearing a solid-looking exoskeleton and a sharp, spear-like head. Even without the horns, it was over 13 feet in length and looked viciously mean from nose to rear fin. Why did we bring in such a behemoth? Because despite its appearance, this fish had the nicest, most well-rounded taste to it. The armor-like exoskeleton hid lean red meat, similar to tuna. I happened to catch one during a fishing competition with Datta, and all I can say is, good thing I bothered to run analyze and assess on it before tossing it back. It told me that the fish was both non-poisonous and packed with nutrients. Pour a little of our soy sauce on it, now ready for practical use, try it out, and... well, it was good. Really good. The experience drove me to show it off to the crowd at this party. I'd actually caught this guy myself. I had grown pretty adept at moving in the water by now, and it was a good experience for me. I'd have someone else handle that next time, of course, but either way, this was a freshly caught spear tuna. Meanwhile, Hakuro cut and trimmed it for me. The first time, he used a well-honed long knife from Karabe to dice it up and present it in pieces, arranged all lifelike on the table. This time, however, he'd be performing for a crowd, so he took his time, slowly slicing up the body. Deftly avoiding the spear tuna's solid exoskeleton, Hakuro's knife ran through it like butter. It was the most artistically beautiful dissection I had ever seen. Even Shuna was surprised at his dexterity.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to 11th YT, Neil Thakar, Flair SP, Stratus Lampro, James Yap, Rahul Subramanian, Michael, Shinigami, Rakesh Chaudhry, and last but not least, shoutout to Karen Carlsberg. I'll see you guys in the next video.